What's up, everybody? It's Ultimate G-Man here once again to do my video talking about my second favorite shonen of all time, Hunter x Hunter. Now, Hunter x Hunter is a freaking amazing series. It is wonderful. It has the best arc in all of shonen, the Chimerian arc. I remember watching that arc in the anime, the 2011 series, which is godly. That 2011 adaptation, Madhouse just took the manga and just amplified it and make it a million times better. But this is not me talking about the anime. I'm here to talk about the manga. Now, Hunter x Hunter, the manga, a lot of people, they have mixed feelings about the series because of the fact that it goes on hiatus so much, and a lot of its chapters are very dialogue heavy. But me personally, I think that if you really try to understand Togashi's situation, because Togashi, based on what I learned about Togashi, is the fact that he has to struggle a lot with Shonen Jump and being as original as he can be. So the reason why his art isn't so good, because he tries his hardest to make his art his own. He doesn't have a lot of assistants coming in and trying to help him 24/7 and get him with everything. He just tries to do everything himself. And I admire that about Togashi as an artist, because I'm an artist as well. And I take that from him, where I want to be as original and myself. Here's looking a little crazy. Be as much as myself as I can, because artists have to express themselves. But anyway, down to the nitty gritty. I'm here to talk about the series as a whole and what I love about the series, and give it my own personal overall rating. Now, me and the series of Hunter x Hunter go way back. I remember first hearing about the series through the anime. I first watched the anime, and I was going through a lot at that time. Then as the anime came out, I watched the first 12 episodes, and I loved it. So I started reading the manga. I read the manga and I stopped right before the Greed Island arc, because I wanted to see that in the anime. So then I watched it. So I waited for the episodes. But by the time that happened, all the episodes of one of my other favorite arcs in this series, the Phantom Troop arc, the part with York New, all that stuff happened. I rewatched that during the anime, and that was just so mind-blowing. And I just got hooked with the series, and I just loved it. And I was really in love with its overall themes of friendship and the connections that friends have. Is just something that I just thought was just so wonderful, and a lot more realistic than the friendship aspect in One Piece, because in One Piece you have it where you have this group of people and they're always around each other, but in Hunter x Hunter is totally different, because you have your friends, but they aren't always. You're only gonna have that one true friend that sticks with you thick and thin, no matter what. But then you'll have other friends, you'll have all these other people that'll be there for you, but they're not always going to be there. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing I get from Hunter x Hunter as a whole. But overall, I would say that this series is a definite read and buy and whatever. Just get this series because it is wonderful. As opposed to a lot of people would say that it is basically... It's a manga that is different than your atypical shonen, and it does things that most shonen would never do. Dragon Ball set the template of how shonen could be. Hunter x Hunter completely breaks that mold and breaks it down and does things that are totally different than what would be normal inside of the medium. Where the main character is often seen on the good side of a situation. In Hunter x Hunter, it covers everything is more morally gray in the Hunter x Hunter universe. And this was mainly expressed in my favorite arc of the series. Excuse me. My favorite arc in the series, the Chimerian arc, really shows the morally gray aspect of Hunter x Hunter. Now, first I would like to talk about the characters in the series, and because they are basically some of my favorite stuff in the series, are the characters. We have Gon, who is, when you first hear Gon's characters, when you first get introduced to him, he's not the most likable character. He's not the most Like, he's very, like, childish and innocent, and, like, you know, in the anime, his voice is very, like, cutesy and whatnot. But then when you learn more about Gon's character, you learn that Gon, in and of himself, he's an ignorant character, but he has his own morals and values, and he's not really good or bad. If you learn more about his character as the series goes on, Gon isn't really an evil character, but he's not really a good character evil. He does whatever he feels is right, and he does whatever he feels he needs to do. He doesn't go based off other people's opinions on certain situations. For example, he'll view, like, during the Greed Island arc with the Scissor Hands guy, he didn't really see him as a bad person. He was just like, you know, whatever, you know, people do their own thing. And Gon also, like, throughout the series, if something doesn't go his way, what he feels is right, he will go literally insane. He will go mad. He won't, like, try to reason. He's not really someone you can reason with. He's a character where it's like, it's this way. This is how it needs to be. This is how everything is supposed to be. I mean, he's not, like, a lot of people when they first see him, they think he's carefree, but Gon is definitely not carefree. He has his own rules, he has his own passions, and he has his own goals. And if they don't go through to this fullest, he'll freak out. And that's not just with him. You also have, he's not just the only awesome characters. You also have tons and tons and tons of wonderful characters within the series that are introduced. You may not see them throughout the entire series, but they become relevant later on as a series. Like, for example, you have Netero. Netero is a god. Okay, Netero is a freaking god. I don't care what anyone says. Netero is by far one of my favorite characters in all of manga. He is full of knowledge. He's full of wisdom. When you first meet his character, it's just like he's very goofy. He's very silly. He's playing dodgeball with the kids. You know, he's doing his thing. But from the very beginning, you know he has this level of strength and this level of experience to him. But then in the Chimera arc later on, you really see him shine, and you really see him flourish, and you really see him develop through his fights, and it really makes you drawn close to him. And when that big thing happens to Netero, you're just like, no, but you're like, yes, at the same time, because he's like, he planned this whole thing out from the beginning. Then you have Kilowatt, who's also another amazing character who develops throughout the entire series, who starts off amazing. We all love Kilowatt from the first beginning. You know, he's an assassin. He's from a freaking assassin family. I mean, he's a freaking assassin. He's an assassin. Like, what's there not to love about Kilowatt? He's an assassin. He's freaking skilled as crap. And then you learn more about his character. And then, like, as the series goes on, he goes from being this assassin, this killer, to actually being someone who develops feelings for someone and caring about someone and really understands what true friendship is, which I feel is good for his character. And you have Kurapika, who I feel like his character goes more on the darker side, darker end of things, where he starts out from being this very meticulous and very, you know, but from the beginning, you know, he's out for revenge. He's the original Sasuke. He's out for his vengeance. He's out for blood. He wants to avenge his clan that was killed by the Phantom Troop. And then there's Leorio, who throughout the anime, he didn't get too much development, but he's still a lovable character. I still love his character. But in the manga, he's eventually gonna start getting more development as the series goes on, because it's the Dark Continent. He's going to the Dark Continent. What would you expect? And yeah, the Phantom Troop. What can I say? Everyone in the Phantom Troop is awesome. Everyone in the Phantom Troop. Even if all of the Phantom Troop did not get their techniques fleshed out, and we don't fully understand who all of them are to that extent, I still love every single one of the Phantom Troop, from Crollo to Nobunaga, to Franklin, to Shizuku, to freaking... Hisoka's not a part of the Phantom Troop, what am I saying? To Phaeton, to Finks, to freaking... Oh my god. So many awesome characters. Pakunoda, and you see how their relationship... The Phantom Troop's relationship is very dynamic. It's like they're a family, but they're also marauders and stealers, and like, they're not really evil. Like, when I first see the Phantom Troop, I just love them so much. But then we hear from Kurapika, he's like, I hate them. They killed my clan. But they're another example of how the series is morally gray, because you even love the Phantom Troop. I freaking love the Phantom Troop. They're all really lovable characters, and some of them are even relatable to me. as an individual. So yeah, you have the Phantom Troop, you have all the main cast, and then you have Ging Freaks. Now, before y'all say anything in the comments about how he's a horrible dad, besides the fact that Gon's dad is a horrible father, I mean, he left his son behind, like, that's a horrible dad. His character, in and of itself, is a very interesting and very, very dynamic character, and he himself is extremely intelligent, number one. He's extremely experienced in the Hunter x Hunter universe, in the Hunter x Hunter verse. He has a vast knowledge, and he overall is just a really skilled and very awesome character that I just love. I just love Ging's character. Regardless of what anybody says, I love Ging's character. And I feel like in this next arc, we're really going to see Ging's ability shine, because we learned that he's just really talented in Nen. He's really well versed in Nen and all that stuff. And then, aside from the characters, you get these awesome archetype plots that are made to develop the main cast, and they develop them so well. And I'm not going to go into the intricacies of every single one of these arcs. All I'm going to say is that I love them. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to love them. The main arc that I will ever talk about is the Chimera Ant arc. I already mentioned that arc is my favorite arc in the entire series, like, multiple times. But this, I'm going to tell you guys why this arc is my favorite arc. Number one, the characters in the Chimera Ant arc, and because this is a war arc, develop extremely well. And the chemistry between the main character cast and the villain and the antagonist, I wouldn't even say villain, the antagonist characters, they have, both sides have their chemistry, and you can see how these sides really meld and work together. And you see that the Chimera Ants as a species are a very dynamic species. The mother of the Chimera Ants, whatever like species or animal that she eats, she reproduces something that resembles that previous species, so that her children acquire the aspects of that previous species. That's why a lot of the Chimera Ants acquire human characteristics, human features, human activities, human way of thought and philosophy, which is really, really groundbreaking, because then the humans are fighting against animals, but they're not necessarily animals. They're humans at the same time, and they're sent to exterminate them. But then our main cast learns more and more about the Chimera Ants, and some of our main cast gains Chimera Ant allies and everything, because this is a war arc. And because of the situation and how dynamic it is, it forces so many character interactions. And even the villains feed off the heroes, and the heroes feed off the villains, and because both their clashes together just causes just such wonderful fights, just such wonderful developments, and just these and so many existential questions for humanity. Like, are humanity monsters, or are we're the ones who are destroying ants? But we do more to mess up the planet than the ants could ever do. It's kind of got that influence from Parasite, which is one of my favorite manga of all time. It has that influence from Parasite, but it does it in its own unique and different way from Parasite did it. But Parasite is still a perfect series. I don't have any complaints with it. It's perfect. I need to get the series. I need to get the manga as soon as I can, since it's basically perfect. But moving away from Parasite, Hunter x Hunter is a freaking masterpiece. It's a freaking masterpiece. The Chimera Ant arc develops its main antagonist so well. Meru M, the main antagonist. I'm not going to say what happens at the end of this arc that solidifies his character as one of the best antagonists. Well, he's an antagonist, but he's not a villain. He does not qualify to be a villain. His character develops so much to the point where I don't even know if he's a villain anymore. Like, Meru M is not a villain. He's a wonderful, beautiful character. And the last thing I have to say about Hunter x Hunter that separates it from any other shonen, there are two last things I gotta say. Number one is how the fights are constructed, and number two, the overall techniques and the powers and how they're constructed in the world of Hunter x Hunter. Number one, the fights in Hunter x Hunter, they're not your atypical shonen fights where it's just like a bunch of buff guys sizing up each other's auras and fighting against each other. In the Hunter x Hunter fights, there's different levels to it, and there's levels of strategy and thought put in every single one of the Hunter x Hunter fights. Like, you have it where in some situations they have to adapt their abilities to try to match a particular like scenario that may not go their plan, and so many things happen that are different than the characters like expectations, but the characters are really good at adapting, and there are no ex machinas except for like one part, but it felt kind of like an ex machina, but it didn't. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying, there are no ex machinas in Hunter x Hunter fights. It's like everything is done well and well thought out, and if the main characters win, there's a reason, there's a logical explanation behind why they won, and the strategy that goes into these fights is just astronomical. And another thing I would like to say is that in the Hunter x Hunter universe, because of how their power system is set up with the Nen abilities and the Tenren and Hatsu, Togashi is able to magnificently characterize these different characters just by using their fighting styles and using how they use their Nen. Like, you'll have someone who, like Gon, who's very straightforward, just uses rock, paper, scissors. You have Kilowatt, who's very cold and silent, but then he has a strike, he has his positive and negative energy with his character, and that causes him to be able to use lightning. And then you have like Knuckles' ability with Hakuare and the whole thing with bankruptcy and everything. And you have all these, and it allows for a wide variety of abilities, and it allows for an infinite possibilities, and it allows for, Togashi to really think through how he's going to make his characters do all these different things, and like how to make each and every character unique. That's the one thing that stands out from any other aspects of Hunter x Hunter, besides the character, besides the plot, is its power system and how original and how thought-provoking it is. Like, me as an individual, I have this Nen ability. I have to think, how am I going to make this ability mine, and how am I going to make this work for me? So yeah, Hunter x Hunter, a freaking phenomenal series. Some of the best characters in all of Shonen, some of the best, most well thought out stories in all of Shonen. It's the only flaws that the series has is its overuse of dialogue and its hiatuses. If Togashi could get a freaking editor, if he can get an editor, number one, to condense his writing, and if he could, number two, get off his behind and just do chapters like he's doing now. I just hope he stays consistent. Just please stay consistent, Togashi. Please. Just please. Do us a favor. Please stay consistent. Anyway, that's it for now. I finished talking about Hunter x Hunter. So freaking phenomenal series. I'm done. Ultimate G-Man here. Like, subscribe, and peace out.